Okay, so for today's video, we're actually in the kitchen for a bit of a change. I'm actually going to be restocking our pantry with a few staples that we use weekly. Homemade staples, I guess you could call it. Like, this one goes on Cobb's head. I'm going to be running through 8 staples and we're going to start with number 1, which is just a loaf of sourdough. I'm just preheating the oven at the moment. I've been recently using a Dutch oven to bake my bread. It's helped so much like with the rise and also it's just not as gummy inside, I've noticed. So you do need to like preheat the whole pot for half an hour. I mean, it's not that annoying, but you got to do it. And then I will put the bread in half an hour. The next thing I'm going to start is my bone broth. I'm going to start this, I like to start it in the morning because it does take between 6 to 8 hours on the stove. So you want to get that on nice and early. We use bone broth in this house like for every second meal, if not every meal. So it's definitely a staple we go through. I normally use chicken feet because it's like the part of the chicken that just has the most collagen. But unfortunately the butcher we go to was out of stock. So I'm using chicken necks today, which is also another collagen rich part of the animal. Now this is all frozen together, but it doesn't matter because once you put this in the hot water, it will defrost pretty quickly. And then I'm also adding in a chicken carcass. Now you can obviously save up bones that you're using at home and just, you know, after you've had like a roast chicken in the week, freeze those bones and then keep freezing more and more bones through, you know, many meals through the week. And then when you have enough, you can just use that to make your bone broth. You don't actually have to buy bones, but today I'm just using some store-bought ones. Now on my Instagram, I always get questions. People always say, why aren't you using any vegetables in your stock? Or like, aren't you meant to use vegetables? The quick answer is you can use vegetables for sure. I don't like to just use a whole vegetable just for the sake of the stock. I guess for me, I'm trying to get the most nutrients out of the bones, so I don't really care so much for vegetables. But what I do is I save scraps. So like pieces like bits of celery and stuff that I wasn't actually going to cook with, then I'll chuck it in my stock and use it like that. But I won't actually buy a vegetable for the purpose of a stock. That's just me personally. So you just want to make sure the water is above the food, that it's all submerged in there. I add in a little bit of apple cider vinegar. This just basically helps to break down the bones and get all the good stuff out. Next, we're making some chili jam or chili sauce. Now, Tom loves this on his breakfast, that's why I'm making it, but also it's just like, it's a nice condiment to add like if you're having like eggs with rice for lunch or things like that. And I actually like cooking it in the slow cooker. I just think it's a lot easier. You don't have to watch a stove for a few hours. You basically just put it in the food processor, blend it up, put it in a jar later and you're done. All I'm gonna do is chop all this up and basically chuck it in the pot. So I know it doesn't look like many chilies, there's only 3 there, but these are bird's eye chilies and we've found that 3 of those definitely packs a punch and that's probably our threshold. Capsicum in this sauce. And we also use lime leaves. Now I think that it's definitely a key flavor in this sauce. It's super yummy. At the end, I actually add more lime leaves in the food processor, like raw ones that haven't been cooked. That's what really gives the sauce the flavor too. Now the slow cooker I'm using today is the Ninja Foodie. This is my mum's, I've been using it, but I have just ordered an Instant Pot, which is on the way. So they're the same type of thing. They're a multi-cooker, they pressure cook, slow cook, all those things. The good thing about these is if you're slow cooking, you can chuck this in now and you can sear your food first. So you don't have to use another frying pan before chucking things in your slow cooker, which is a big advantage. So I'm just going to basically brown the capsicums while I'm still chopping up all the veggies. So I've just thrown that in there. I have it on sear. I'm going to press start. And I'm just going to chuck a little bit of olive oil in there too. So I'll probably brown those capsicums for like 3 minutes while I chop everything else up and then everything will go in there and we'll close the lid. Like I was saying before about my stock, I'm a bit crazy with how I do it. Like I don't really have a system or a recipe. I just chuck in whatever I feel like, whatever I want. For example, I'm using this ginger for the sauce and I peeled the skin off and I'm like, you know what? We should chuck this ginger skin in the stock because it's got like good properties in it. Why not? Everyone, this is my little sister, Casey.
Sorry, my hands are wet.
Hello. Okay, so this capsicum's been cooking for like 3 minutes. You can see it's starting to go a bit blistery, which is what you want. It's going to make real nice flavors. So I'm going to put everything else in the pot now. I'll run you through what's on here. So red onion, garlic, ginger, lemongrass, the chilies, and we're just chucking in 2 lime leaves like this. All in now. Now everything is just chopped really coarsely because we're actually going to like blitz it up in the food processor later on. So don't stress about how thick anything is cut for now. Add in the runaways. All right. The last things I'm adding in is just some water. And I'm adding in some tamarind paste. Now I actually made this myself, first time ever, which was pretty exciting. If you do a lot of like Thai dishes or like Asian dishes, you would have used this ingredient before. It's essentially, I've just pureed a fruit. That's really what it is. It doesn't look very appealing, but it is so sweet. So I like to use this instead. If a recipe calls for like a cup of sugar, I'm like, I'll use this in the chili sauce or something instead. But it's so easy to make. It like takes you 5 minutes. And in the supermarket, I've never found a jar of tamarind paste that doesn't have preservatives or sulfates or all those type of things in. So I was like, I'm gonna try and make it myself, and I honestly couldn't believe how easy it was. So I'm literally just closing the lid now, changing this setting to slow cook. It's a slow cook. We're gonna leave it on high for 6 hours, perfect. See you later. That's it, so easy. Okay, so it has been half an hour that the oven has been heating up for, so it's time to break the bread. Now I do bake with freshly milled flour. You see the mock mill back there that I grind all the grains with. So I am always experimenting with things, and I actually make a different recipe every single time because I'm never 100% happy with what I've made. But I have been making some really good loaves lately, so I feel like I'm close to cracking the code. So I left this in the fridge to proof overnight, and I'm gonna turn this over onto some baking paper now. This is something that we need to change in our life. We definitely need to find an alternative than using baking paper. I know it's not great, but I can't really put the bread on the cast iron pan without making it stick. So I haven't worked that one out yet, but it is on my list. Any tips, advice, I'll take it. So I'm just gonna score it now, which is basically just like making a big line down the middle. Just like that. Now I'm kind of scared to show you guys this because like there's always a chance your bread won't work, and I'm recording it, so I have to show you what it looks like. But I did give the disclaimer that I am trying something new again, so I don't know how it's going to turn out. To be honest, if I have to say, I feel like it will be okay, this one, like pretty good. Like at least a 7 out of 10 just from feeling how it feels. Now this oven's going to be so hot. Got to be fast with these things because you want the bread to stay cold and this Dutch oven to stay hot and not lose the heat in there. It's like doing a whole math equation trying to make bread. Oh, still some baking paper from last time. Two, up. Okay, that will stay in there for half an hour with the lid closed, and then I take the lid off for the last 22 minutes. Very specific. Back to the broth. Sorry, this is not in order, but this is just a realistic day of when you're like doing a pantry restock with your staples. It's nice and boiling now, so I'm just going to come in and grab it's called scum, I'm pretty sure. That sounds weird. These little bubbly bits, the brown bits. It only does it once, but you just want to take it off. And there's not really that much today, which is good signs. You don't have to be like super pedantic about it, just the main big bits. And then I make sure it's on a very, very low simmer, like you just want to see a couple bubbles coming through. And then you basically just leave this for about 6 to 8 hours now. Obviously I'm going to be watching it throughout the whole day as I'm still cooking the kitchen, and you just top up water if it starts to get a bit low. But that's it for the broth. The next staple I'm making is granola. I don't make it all the time because we probably only have like yogurt bowls maybe like once a week, twice a week max. We're more of an eggs on toast person for breakfast, so we don't go through heaps of it. That's why I don't make it as much.
Oh, you're helping. You filming, Mum? Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Koa. You getting a good angle? I hope so. Yeah. But ever since it's been summer, I'm like, I actually feel like yogurt for breakfast, something like nice and cool and refreshing. So I'm just gonna top up our granola today as well. Now you'll notice our granola doesn't have any nuts. I feel like people pick up on these things. We don't really eat a lot of nuts. Like I really try and restrict the amount of nuts we eat. And I just think they're really high in polyunsaturated fats, and I think they can cause inflammation in your body. That's just my 2-second thoughts, but anyways, that's why we try to limit our nut intake, but we still do have them every now and then. Oh, that's a bit too much. Okay, it's that. So we're using oats and we're also using puffed quinoa. Now, if you haven't tried this, I love it in granola. It just makes it like really nice and light. It's not a heavy granola. It literally just looks like that. They're just like puffed pieces of quinoa. So add that in too. Adding coconut flakes as well. Now I do like adding, whoopsie colour. I do like adding some dried fruit in, but if you've noticed, most dried fruits from like your normal Coles and Woolies are like bad, they have stuff added. But for some reason, these...
Please.
For some reason, these dried apricots at Woolies are the only ones I can find that the only ingredient is apricots. You'll see at the back, like there's no sulfates, things like that. Just dried apricots only. And I also thought I would show you. This is what dried apricots actually look like when you don't add anything to them. Most people expect that nice, super bright orange apricot, but they actually look like this, just like dark apricot. So that's how you also know when your apricots haven't been messed with when they've been dried. They should look like this. Am I in the video?
Yes.
Can everyone see what I'm making? Yeah? Does it look good, my food?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Pumpkin seeds. Now, if you do love nuts and you're like, no, my granola needs nuts, I would recommend macadamias. They're quite low in polyunsaturated fats. I actually did chuck in a little bit today because these are about to expire, so I'm going to use them. But these are a better nut option. And I also chucked in some cinnamon. Just mixing that around. So that's basically the dry ingredients I'm using today. Now for the wet ingredients, which will make the granola a bit more sticky or stick together, I'm doing coconut oil, honey.
Mom, this is my camera.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, and that camera.
Are you getting different angles?
Yeah, and the bones.
Alright, then I'm going to pour it through and mix it together. And if I need to add a bit more, then I will. It's nice when you get a warm day in Melbourne and your coconut oil is already melted for you. You don't have to melt on the stove. Thing in Victoria that your coconut oil is hard 80% of the year. Can you see me good now? You got a good shot?
Your face in it.
Is my face in it? That's better. Thanks.
Mom,
Yeah?
we go party and go eat this.
We take it to a party and you eat it. And take it to Shabbat?
Yeah, and we eat it up.
Okay, we eat it up at the next party.
Yes.
Right, that's about it really. Just granola, so you don't want it to get too sticky. I'm gonna pour this out into an oiled pan, greased pan. That's all right though.
Mom,
Yeah.
put your foot down. Mom, put your foot down like this.
Good?
Yeah.
Can I keep cooking?
Yes.
Thank you.
Come in your bowl.
It's been half an hour, so I'm gonna take the lid off. And hopefully this loaf looks good, looks promising. Oh yeah, it looks all right so far. Honestly, it looks a little bit flat, if I'm honest. But it'll still be fine. So that's the first part. I'm a little bit disappointed, it looked a little bit flat, but you have to go through with it, it's fine. We'll give it another 22 minutes, see what it does. So next up we are making some banana oat bars. These ones are super simple, it's basic ingredients. I'm using some bananas, which I mash up here. Also using honey, oats, coconut. I do add a little bit of baking soda just to help it rise. And I also add in some fresh milled flour with coconut oil. So now I am doing the big reveal on my bread. I wish you could hear the audio here because I'm not 100% happy. Look, overall it was still good and we did slice it up and eat it. Looking at it, I definitely overproofed it. Unfortunately in Melbourne, you know, we had one day it was 30 degrees and then the next day it was 20. So it's really hard to get a perfect fermentation. But look, Cole still ate it. He was happy. He knew he'd get some honey on toast there. Time to chuck the granola in the oven. I cooked them in 10-minute intervals. So obviously the first round, I left them for 10 minutes and then I would go in with a spatula and break up and turn it around. Okay, time to break it up. Looking a bit more brown, which is what you want for granola. You can see everything getting a bit toasty. Smells good too. I put a bit more salt in this one this time. I'll check it again in 10 minutes. If I think it needs a little bit longer, then we'll give it another 10, but. I'm using the desiccated coconut from Honest to Goodness. If you've seen previous videos, we have chatted about them before. I like this particular product because, again, it's so hard to find desiccated coconut. It doesn't have like preservatives or added fillers and blah, blah, blah. But this one is just coconut, which is pretty cool. So something else I'm adding in the muesli bars today is a few products from the brand Bush Tucker Blends. Now, I think this is such a cool name because pretty much 95% of their ingredients are all hand harvested. So they're literally hand picked in the Australian outback. They're all hand picked in the Australian outback. They're all hand picked in the Australian outback. So I think that's a cool brand name. But the other thing I love about these guys is that every single ingredient is real food. You can read the ingredient label. Again, something else you know that we've banged on about on this channel. I'll get Tom to pop some screenshots of the ingredients in here and you'll see that it's all real food. If you can't understand a word, it's because it's like a native plant or something, but if you Googled that ingredient, it would come up showing you exactly what it is. So the first product I'm using of theirs is the banana biotic, which is like a pre and post biotic, I guess you could say. Really good for your gut health. This is basically food to feed your gut bacteria. So I'm going to put in a tablespoon, and I'm also using their True Blue Immunity Blend. This has so much vitamin C, all the good stuff for immunity. I definitely going to be using this all winter season, but I'm already going to start using it now. I'm just going to use a teaspoon, about a teaspoon of this. So we do have a discount code for this brand. It's on the rock, but I'll get Tom to put that in the description with the link. If you do use our code to make a purchase, you'll get 10% off. I'm just going to mix everything together.
What's that mean?
Check the granola. Right, that looks pretty brown. I'm pretty happy with how it looks. Yeah, that feels pretty good. That's probably as crunchy as I want my granola, but obviously if you're like someone who wants it super crunchy, I would do it for another 10 minutes, but that would be enough for me. Alright, I'm going to leave that to cool now, and we'll keep going with the muesli bars. Yep, so now I'm just going to pour in the batter, the muesli bar blend. Now, I also, like I said before, don't make heaps of muesli bars, so I'm not an expert in this, but I do know that you're meant to really pack it down, make sure it's really firm. I love banana, you can smell it. Oh, that tastes really good. It's got a little taste. Anyways, that goes in the oven for half an hour. That baking paper looks very uneven, but that's fine. So coming back to the broth, I can see that the water line has definitely lowered a bit, which is normal. You just want to come in and top it up with water. There you go. That's it. This is not a part of my staple video, but I just thought I'd quickly say we're going to chuck lunch in the oven, which is like a chicken tahini that I made the other day. But for convenience, I highly recommend all mums buy glass containers because they can go in the oven. So all I'm literally going to do for lunch is take this out of the fridge. Everything's already in there, leftovers. I'm actually just going to take the lid off and I'm just going to put this in the oven. Like, that's how long lunch took me to prep. And having these glass containers has saved so much time. I really, really recommend. I use the Pyrex brand. I reckon they're just the best. I'll get Tom to link those down below for you guys too. But yeah, they really just save so much time and less dishes. You don't have to have multiple pots going, trays. That's it. Lunch be ready in 20. Now, I just wanted to say, I know social media can be deceiving sometimes. If there's any mums watching this video thinking, how on earth are you possibly making this many things in one day? I cannot do that. I hear you, because that's actually normally me. Usually I would only be able to do 1 or 2 of these things in a day because there's washing to do, just playing with the children. The list is endless, as most mums would know. But the reality is Tom and I actually planned this day. We spent yesterday planning that we're going to film all these things today, and that Tom was actually helping me all day. So, he's the one filming here.
Daddy.
But he's also looking after the kids.
Yes, Bean.
That's you.
That's me?
Yeah.
Let me see. Hey, that actually does look like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
So yeah, I could not do all this by myself. I would have to spread this over the week. But I thought I would just chuck that in there so that no one feels, I guess, what's the word? Yeah, so basically I just wanted to say I know that it's not realistic to be able to do this many things in a day as a mum with young children. But yeah, we prepared to film this and Tom's here helping, so that's how we're getting it done today. Yeah, I'm making a Cajun spice mix, which is what we use for like a lot of chicken. If we ever need a quick lunch, like we're just putting chicken and wraps, this is my go-to. I will just grab this seasoning, I'll chuck it onto the chicken in the frying pan, it's done in a second. I don't have to worry about ripping out 100 spices. So I always have spice mixes stocked in our pantry. Obviously I don't take out these big bags often. It's only when I'm refilling my spice mixes. In the cupboard as well, I have like a curry powder that I've made that's just good to go as well. I have a chili powder, I have taco seasoning, I have one that I put for burgers. So I have all these different ones so that if I need a quick dinner, I can just easily grab it. Now, obviously the other benefit of making your own spice blends or seasonings is that you know exactly what's going in it. There's no additives, there's no fillers. And yeah, you can be confident that this is a healthy spice mix that you can just reach for. That's it. That was so quick. Literally 2 minutes. You can make yourself homemade seasoning that you can just grab for instantly. I just mixed that up, obviously. Another good thing about making your own spices is that you'll stop buying marinated meat in store. Yeah, next time you need to buy like a quick lunch and you're going to buy meat, you probably won't buy any marinated meat because you know you have this at home and it takes like 10 seconds to sprinkle on top. So it's a good way to stop buying marinated meat. Oh, timer. Yep. So the muesli bar should be ready. I'm going to let it cool completely before I cut it. So we'll leave it here while we have our lunch. That looks really nice. That's like a proper oat bar, not a muesli bar really. It's like, you know, but yum, smells great. And lunch is all done too. So we've just finished having lunch and both kids down for a nap. So we're going to continue on with the staples and we're going to make wraps. Now we definitely go through a lot of wraps for dinner time with like tacos and things like that. Now in terms of wheat, we only use freshly milled flour now. So that means we're going to use the mock meal today to make the wraps as well. Now obviously you don't need a mill to make wraps, so you can buy good quality flour from places like Honest to Goodness that's already been milled for you. So you would skip this step, but wraps is pretty much just flour, water and oil, and you can add salt for some taste as well. So I'm just going to be weighing out my grain now. 375, oops. Oh, perfect. Now I'm nervous to turn this on because everyone's sleeping. It's always risky, but it's got to be done. When I first started using this mill, I actually chucked the grain in first, then turned it on. But as I've learned, you actually meant to turn it on, find the setting you like, then chuck the grain in. There we go, fresh milled flour. This took about, I reckon, 4 minutes to mill 375 grams, not bad. Okay, now the only other ingredients I'm gonna be using is olive oil, warm water, and I'll grab some salt as well. Once it looks like it's formed pretty well, then I like to use my hand and just knead it like this for about 2 minutes until it gets nice and smooth. It's just to help all the gluten develop so that your wraps can roll out nice later on. You get one big bicep. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to divide this up. So first we'll go in half. If you want to be very precise, you could use scales, but I'm not a precise cook. This is how I work out how many I'm gonna make. I'm always torn if I should like make just really big ones or just like tortilla sizes. So I'm just rolling them out into equal portions, and then we have to let them sit for about 30 minutes to rest. Now, if you skip this step, when you try and roll them out, they're just gonna break and not work well. You've got to let the gluten develop as long as possible. So if it's a warmer day like today, I'll just leave it for half an hour. But if I was doing this in winter, you would actually let them sit here for 2 hours. It's relatively easy to make, but some time is involved if you are in colder weather. So we're gonna let these rest. I like to cover it with a towel just so that the air doesn't dry out the top of the dough as much. Now the last thing I'm making today is ice cream, or icy poles. I don't know what you really want to call them, but I make them in these little molds. I'm always getting questions about these molds every time I use them on Instagram as well, so I will get Tom to link them. They're relatively cheap. I think they're around $20, but we probably use them every week in the summer. You can literally add whatever you like in these type of things. That's what I love about molds. When you're trying to make ice cream specifically, like an ice cream maker, and you need to get the consistency right, you have to be particular with the ingredients and the ratio. But because this is basically frozen fruit block, you can do what you want. You can't get it wrong. So that's why it's my go-to. I'm just doing banana and mango as the flavor of the icy poles. I add in some Greek yogurt. And I'm also going to add in some beef organs. Now, I know this sounds weird and you are probably thinking that's going to taste disgusting, but you cannot taste it. Tom, you had one last week. Could you taste it at all?
Whether you can taste it or not, it tastes good.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with having beef liver ice cream.
So another way I like to sneak in supplements, I guess, is in our ice cream. So I put in about a tablespoon in there, like that. Lastly, just for a bit more liquid, I'll add in some coconut water. Add that in. Sometimes I do add honey if I'm feeling extra nice for Tom and Collar, because I know they like that. But honestly, mango and banana are quite sweet together already. I think this will be enough. Tom's looking at me like, put some honey in there. This is my attempt to try and make the blender quiet because everyone's asleep. I swear it makes a difference. Maybe it's wishful thinking. That looked good to me. And then it's as simple as just pouring it in. This is very thick this time. Now I'm having a test taste after I've poured it. Yum. It's so sweet, taste it. It's actually nice. There's not even any honey in it. Pretty good. I only made 8, but that's all right. Like I said, there's no rules. You just put whatever you want in, blend it. Whatever comes out, that's how many you get. I don't mean it's organized, but look at this spot right here. There you go, it's a nice little spot for them. Pop it in there. When Cole wakes up from his nap, he can have one. Okay, so besides the wraps, everything's been made. I need to chop up the muesli bar, pack away the granola, and then we can cook the wraps, and we have the stock on the stove, and the chili sauce has an hour 47 left on the slow cooker, so doing good. I'm just gonna pop everything in. Like I mentioned before, I'm trying to use less baking paper, and I did just use glass trays this time. I'm experimenting with each dish, using enough, fat at the bottom, or coconut oil in this case, so that nothing sticks. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with the result here. Hardly anything stuck. I didn't really lose much of the food. So granola in glass trays works. That's good. So the slice smells really good. We'll cut inside to see what the texture is like. That looks like a good oat slice. I know I kept saying muesli bars, but it's actually an oat slice. Nice, it's a good feeling with the snacks in the house, isn't it? Now we've got 3 things finished, starting to look like a good restock. So I'm just turning on the frying pan, heating it up for the wraps. Alright, so it's been half an hour. They've been sitting here for about. I have milled a tiny bit little extra, I have milled a little bit more flour just to flour the surface so that nothing sticks. I'll give it a test roll. If it doesn't roll out well, it means it needs to sit a little bit longer. So we'll see. First, I just squash it a little bit. Something funny, Zippy. They're rolling out pretty good, so I don't think they need to sit there any longer. This is about the size that I make them for our little tacos for dinner and things like that. So we're gonna lift it up like that. You should be able to see through it a little bit. I don't know if you can see my fingers, but I can see that's a bit transparent, which is how you want it to look. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. And now we're gonna wait for it to bubble. Oops, I didn't make that very nice there, but look. We're gonna wait for it to bubble and then we flip it. I didn't add any oil or anything like that because there is oil in the wraps and you don't need to do it. I like to use stainless steel frying pans too. You can start to see the bubbles forming. Now, these are really easy to make. I feel like you can't stuff it up. I'm using a stainless steel pan, which, you know, everyone claims it always sticks, but look, this just slides around like, they're just such an easy thing to make. We have a few bubbles, so I'm gonna flip it over, just like that, and let the other side get some bubbles too. Now, I am using whole wheat flour, so it's not gonna look white and fluffy like the packet ones you would buy. But if you used white flour, then it would look like that, I guess. But these are whole wheat tortillas. So that's cooked now, but as we stack them all on top of each other, what happens is the steam actually makes them all soft. Right now, this one will actually feel a little bit like hard if I picked it up, but it's hot. That's why I'm not. But yeah, once we stack them all up, the steam will actually soften them all. It's cool that it does that. So I will leave that here, and then I will go make the other 15 and we'll stack them on. Also, if you're wondering, oh, she's not wearing an apron anymore. I'm sure no one thought that. But the reason is because I have this beautiful daughter here that I have to feed every couple of hours, and my apron is not breastfeeding friendly. In fact, I have not found a breastfeeding friendly apron, so I am actually making one. Just thought I'd drop it in this video. Designing an apron that is breastfeeding friendly because I'm just overtaking it off every 5 seconds to feed. So if you have that problem, watch this space. Starting to get a bit odd shaped. Doesn't matter though. All my cooking is not perfect. I don't measure, I don't spend the extra 10 minutes to make them all perfect circles because you know what, it tastes the same. That's the last one. And as you can see, we've made quite a few there. I am going to freeze half for another taco night, and I'll keep 8 out, I guess, for dinner maybe tomorrow really. As you can see, they look pretty good. They bendable like normal wraps. We are finishing off the last 2 staples. So the chili sauce is finished cooking and the bone broth is done as well. So I'm just gonna take this pot out of the slow cooker. We can have a sneak inside. So that looks really good. Everything is well cooked, and when we blitz that up, it's gonna be nice. So first I have to take out these lime leaves because the flavour is definitely gone out of these into the veggies, so just take those 2 out. You can eat lime leaves, we're actually going to add some more in, but these are kind of just done now. Yum, that's so good. Whew, she's spicy. Could have probably done 2, but that's all right. Yum. Okay, so the last step for this sauce is we're going to put it in the food processor and we're going to add fresh lime leaves. So I'm adding in about 6. I'm not going to use the stem, so I'm just going to like rip it off the leaf. Break that up a bit. And this is just to add freshness back into the sauce, because like a lot of the time when you finish slow cooking, the flavors, like it's strong, you can taste the flavors, but it's like a bit more mellow. Like this is just adds the zest back in, you know. I like to do this at the end rather than slow cooking the whole lime leaf. Just a nice pop of flavor back in. I know it looks dark, but this is from the tamarind paste. Remember, it's that dark color and everything's kind of just been caramelizing in here, I guess. And that is your chili paste done. I reckon it's pretty easy, fast. I know we slow cooked it, but hands on time is pretty minimal. So that's going to be good for Tom's eggs on toast. So that's the chili sauce, chili jam done. Now all I need to add to here is the stock, which we're going to strain and pour into jars now. I have a big pot here that I'm going to catch all the liquid into, and I'm going to put my strainer on top like that so that all the big chunky bones don't get in. Make sure you have a bowl underneath your strainer. You don't want to accidentally pour all the broth in the sink. I've heard of people doing that before. Can't say I've done it, but easy mistake.
Okay.
No. Cut. Cut. That's not meant to happen. It was close. Now when this cools down, it basically turns into jelly, which is all the collagen. If your broth is not jelly-like, it means you don't actually have enough collagen in your broth, and that's why I do things like add chicken neck and add chicken feet, because that's, yeah, like I said, got the most collagen in it. I'll just drink that later. And there we go. Okay, so that's all the broth done. Once it cools down a little bit, I will put the lids on, Put some in the fridge, some in the freezer. That's a whole day of restocking some staples. There's 8 right here. We have the ice creams, which are not quite ready yet, but that should last us for the week. We have our wraps here, which I'm really happy with how they turned out. They're actually really soft. You can see how much they bend for whole wheat. Like, they're very soft and flexible. I'm actually gonna freeze all of them so that we have wraps on hand when I need. We're now making lots of granola, and this tastes so good. I'm really happy with this particular recipe that I made. So that will probably last us, honestly, like 2 or 3 weeks but I'm really happy with that. These muesli bars they taste really good. I would like them to last at least 3 to 4 days, but I don't know, we'll see. Because I haven't made them before, they're nice, so who knows. This spice mix, this will last a long time. I would say this will easily last us 4 months, so I'm happy with that. Bread, look, that only lasts a couple of days. Broth, we'll probably use this amount in a week. And the sauce, I reckon each jar will last a week as well. So I'm pretty happy with that. Looks good. So if you've clicked on this video and you've made it to the end, you're probably passionate about cooking from scratch or making your own staples. I know it can seem overwhelming with how much there is to make, but you don't need to do it all, and you don't need to start out doing it all either. I've been making staples for a few years now, and I've just become more quicker and efficient at doing it. Hey, Chicky. What's wrong? She's due for a nap. You just need to pick one thing, look at something in your grocery list that you want to replace. You might want to replace your granola because it has bad seed oils. You want to maybe start making your own sauce because you don't like the ingredients. Just pick one and work on that for the month. That's my advice to start. And before you know it, your pantry will be taken over with homemade things. Trust me, it happens very fast. I have to keep jumping like this, but I just want to say thank you for watching this video. And if you enjoyed it, there'll be plenty more, so like and subscribe. See you in the next video.